Good evening, I'm Chris Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Today was the third day of the inquest into Aisha Hudson's death in Winnipeg. Hudson was the 16-year-old girl who was shot and killed by a Winnipeg police officer after a liquor store robbery and subsequent high-speed chase. APTN's Julia Ross reports, and a warning. Some of the details in this report are disturbing.
Kyle Pradnuk, the officer who shot Aisha Hudson, was the only witness on the stand Wednesday at the inquest into her death. Hudson was killed on April 8, 2020, after a high-speed chase when people in her vehicle robbed a liquor store and threatened to stab a security guard. A video was played that captured the exact moment the chase came to an end. After Hudson's vehicle T-boned a Ford F-150 and reversed to continue driving away, where Constable Pradnuk fired his weapon twice. Pradnuk says the vehicle had reversed, putting his partner, Constable Sylvester's life in danger, leading to his first shot. Pradnuk also says that between that first and second shot, Hudson began driving the car forward, leading to his second shot. In court, questions were posed about reaction time and how quickly decisions need to be made. Pradnuk agreed that everything occurred very quickly, and he could not say with certainty what commands Hudson would have heard or what she would have perceived. Pradnuk says after the first shot, all he knew was the car window had been broken, and he could not determine the effectiveness of the shot. Pradnuk testified that he only noticed slight bleeding at first, and that although Hudson's shoulder was not bleeding terribly, she became unresponsive. Police are trained to aim for the torso, as it doesn't move around as much and is where most major organs are located. Pradnuk was the first officer to begin CPR on Hudson and requested an ambulance in a rush. He says he felt that Hudson's intent was to get away at any cost, including harming police. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The family of a teenager in provincial care who was found deceased on a trail in northwestern BC wants to know what happened to their loved one. The 16-year-old girl is the latest First Nations person to have been found deceased in a walking trail near Highway 16, also known as the Highway of Tears. Here's the latest. This was the last video posted by the 16-year-old female before her death. APTN News is not identifying her under the family's request. In the video, she says she's cold and unable to find anyone to take her back home after she went missing on Boxing Day from her group home in Smithers, BC. The following morning, she was found deceased on a walking trail in the town's Riverside Park. The teenager, who is from Hazelton, BC, was reported missing to Smithers RCMP on the evening of December 26th, after staff at her group home were unable to locate her. On December 31st, BC's Independent Investigations Office, or IIO, was notified by the RCMP, and the IIO began its investigation into the RCMP's response to the missing person report. In a statement, the IIO said they are called when there are injuries or a death that may be connected to RCMP officer action or inaction. Terry Turner is the teen's auntie. She says her niece had a rough life and spent time in ministry care, previously living in Hazelton with her mom, and was later put into provincial care in Smithers. Last Christmas, Turner said her niece was messaging her wanting to leave Smithers and be back home with family. However, a recent snowstorm prevented family from getting to her. In a statement, Turner said, "I told my dad you need to get this little girl and bring her home. She wants to come home. She really misses her mom." Turner then got a phone call on December 27th adding, "I didn't even know they found her remains in the morning. Her older sister called me early in the evening and was screaming. I told her she needed to calm down because I couldn't even understand her." Both the IIO and RCMP continue its separate investigations into the incident. The IIO is asking for any witnesses to come forward. RCMP expects more information to be released in the coming days. Turner says there are too many missing details, adding that her niece was simply reaching out for help. And you can read more about this story by Leanne Saunders by going to our website at aptnnews.ca. Grassy Narrows supporters recently crashed a Board of Trade event as Ontario Premier Doug Ford addressed the crowd. The First Nation community of Grassy Narrows is located 80 kilometers north of Kenora, Ontario. The community and its supporters are still looking for answers from the Government of Ontario regarding mercury poisoning. The First Nation has been dealing with the effects of mercury in the English Wabigoon River system for decades. The pollution stems from toxic wastewater from a paper mill in Dryden, Ontario. At the event, Grassy Narrows supporter Melanie Wilson drilled Ford about Grassy Narrows. Another protester can be heard asking the Premier if he has the ability to act and make things right. He continued on with his speech, even joking the OPP were supposed to arrive 5 minutes ago. He then thanked the OPP for silencing and clearing the protesters. According to Wilson, no charges were laid, and she plans to continue more protests in the future.
It seems clear that, with the passing of Bill 5, that his allegiances are to corporations. They're not to ordinary people, and they're certainly not to many First Nations communities. So I think he feels maybe untouchable in being able to just ignore what he sees as a small community. I'm not sure. And I think that's where just to keep pushing the question, to keep showing up, to keep demanding an answer, to demand compensation, to stop the pollution, the ongoing pollution is so important.
The NDP is calling on the federal government to scrap any commitment to purchase 72 F-35 fighter jets from the United States. At a Wednesday afternoon press conference in Ottawa, NDP interim leader Don Davies and party defense critic Lori Idlout said U.S. President Donald Trump's continued threats against Canada means it is too dangerous to purchase any more F-35s from the country. Instead, the NDP says the government should purchase the Gripen E fighter jets from the Swedish government and Saab. Idlout, who is also the MP for Nunavut, added the government needs to invest more in northern infrastructure if it wants to improve Arctic sovereignty.
At this point, there are far too many barriers for Nunavut to be engaged in Arctic security because of the lack of balance in how the budgets will be spent. So we need to see also investments in housing, investments in addressing food insecurity, investments in the healthcare so that Nunavut can remain in the Arctic for basic medical care. So seeing this change is an important overall change that we expect to see.
Officials from British Columbia were in Ottawa on Tuesday to lobby the federal government for more assistance on flood mitigation measures in BC's Fraser Valley. The area experienced major flooding in 2021 and then again last December. At a press conference, Sumas First Nation Chief Dalton Silver was joined by BC Emergency Management Minister Kelly Green and Abbotsford Mayor Ross Siemens. Green said they will be meeting with Federal Emergency Management Minister Eleanor Olszewski and Housing Minister Gregor Robertson during their time in Ottawa. She said the province is not looking for a specific dollar amount from Ottawa at this time, just more cooperation and assistance. Silver said during the most recent floods, the federal government simply did not offer enough assistance.
It was pretty quiet from Ottawa, let's say. I think we're hoping to have someone there that can address these things. For the First Nations, our perspectives is that our connection to the Crown is through the federal government, and we'd like to see more in the way of activities and more involvement from the federal government in trying to address the concerns that we all have there.
A building near downtown Winnipeg is at the center of an ongoing issue of the community in need of more cultural services. That story after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Arctic Winter Games will be held in Whitehorse next month, and with that comes feeding thousands of athletes and providing much-needed venue space. But with just weeks left, one of the game's service providers says it's had to pull out. APTN Sarah Connors tells us why and what that means for the games going forward.
The Circumpolar North's biggest sporting event is heading to Whitehorse next month, where approximately 2,000 young athletes will be competing. Yukon University's Iamdigut campus was contracted to feed athletes and provide venue space for things like the game's medical station and command center. But with less than 40 days to go, the university has withdrawn from providing services.
We basically got to a point where time was running out.
The Arctic Winter Games Host Society says it was a joint decision. That's because more than 400 university employees may be going on strike as early as March 2nd, just 1 week before the games start. A resolution concerning wage disputes has yet to be reached.
We just couldn't risk it anymore to be part of that and to risk having to manage these games and the access to campus through a labor disputes.
It was really, really hard.
The university's interim president says it's disappointed it had to pull out, but feels it was the right thing to do.
We know that we've lost an incredible opportunity to show the children of the North this beautiful facility and all the things that we have in place here, and have lost an opportunity to recruit future students.
The host society says the focus now is on finalizing Plan B, and fast. Services have been moved off campus and will be split across multiple venues. Its president is confident they can get the job done in time for the games.
So make no mistake, this is going to be a lot of work, but we have this exemplary staff, and the volunteers we have in the community is behind us on this. We know we've had a lot of support in the last few days.
The Arctic Winter Games Host Society says it will be announcing its contingency plan in the next couple of days. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thank you, Sarah. February marks the start of Saskatchewan Indigenous Storytelling Month. From oral traditions to puppetry, stories are being brought to life in new and unique ways. APTN video journalist Rachel May spoke with organizers and storytellers about how Indigenous stories can be preserved for future generations.
And the initial goals for the Storytelling Month was to protect and promote and preserve the custom of Indigenous storytelling.
Jessica Jenneru is the project coordinator. She and her volunteers have their work cut out for them, with 117 events happening at 73 venues throughout February, all on a shoestring budget of $120,000. Events include Indigenous teachings through dance, art, poetry, music, writing, and oral history. Jenneru says that the month will help reconnect youth with elders, teachers, and culture.
I do find once we connect with the storytelling, the custom of storytelling, there's a profound healing impact that happens.
Métis storyteller Tequila Friday says she learned the art of storytelling at a young age. She says her inspiration came from the matriarch of her family.
My mom inspired that journey. She was always a really amazing storyteller. She told stories that she made up. She told different stories that she heard from her family and her culture. And she would also tell me about my own Métis history and background.
Friday encourages youth to begin storytelling by learning from elders and then sharing those stories with their families.
So those sorts of stories, I think you can keep alive every day. And encourage kids to sometimes talk about their day at meal times, like what happened at school, or what did you learn today, or what was one cool trick you figured out on your skateboard. And that helps to get the momentum of oral storytelling going.
Randy Morin is a storyteller from Big River. He teaches Indigenous studies at the University of Saskatchewan. He says February is an ideal time to share certain sacred stories.
And there's protocols to storytelling. This is the month we can actually say Wisakitsak, because there's snow on the ground. When there's no snow on the ground, you can't say Wisakitsak. You could say Kestesino, our older brother.
Morin encourages youth to write their own stories, record stories from their parents, and share knowledge passed down to them to ensure these stories are not lost.
Your stories and the values are embedded in the stories and the lessons and the laws. So it's about listening.
For a full list of events, visit lsap.ca. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
We have more news after the break. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. We get a bird's eye view of Greenland today thanks to our APTN News reporter Angel Moore, who has returned from a week of on-the-ground reporting in the capital city of Nuuk. You can see more of her work on our website and hear more about her time there on Thursday's all-new Nation to Nation. Send us your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Time now for a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. St. John's -1 and sunny, Charlottetown partly cloudy and -3. Maine -13, Cartwright -11. -7 in Quebec City, St. Jovite -10. Toronto -4, Sault Ste. Marie -3. -11 in Big Trout Lake, Wawa -4. Churchill -19, Norway House 0. Winnipeg cloudy and 1, Gimli 0. North Battleford 1, Yorkton 1. La Ronge -1, Buffalo Narrows 1. Cloudy in Peace River at 1, Fort McMurray sunny and -1. +17 in Lethbridge, Red Deer +5. +10 in Vancouver, Kamloops +3. 4 in Smithers, Dees Lake 0. Old Crow -33, Mayo -10. -16 in Fort Simpson, Watee, clear skies and -20. Inuvik -34, Fort McPherson -31. -23 in Baker Lake, Cambridge Bay -29. And Arctic Bay -35, Resolute -28. People are still talking about the Grammys from over the weekend, including the remarks made by Billie Eilish.
Illegal on stolen land.
On Sunday, after winning Song of the Year for her single Wildflower, Eilish used her acceptance speech to speak out against the United States Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE. She was referring to the civil unrest in Minnesota caused by ICE and urged people to continue to speak out and protest. The Tongva tribe, whose original land covers much of Los Angeles, including Malibu where Eilish lives, said they appreciate her efforts to spotlight Indigenous history, but they asked that she highlight their nation directly when talking about the subject. The Tongva are not recognized by the United States. They have been advocating for recognition for decades. In a statement, the Tongva tribe told the Daily Mail, "It is our hope that in future discussions, the tribe can explicitly be referenced to ensure the public understands that the greater Los Angeles basin remains Gabrielino Tongva territory. Eilish has not contacted our tribe directly regarding her property. We do value the instance when public figures provide visibility to the true history of the country." A ceremonial space in Winnipeg remains at the center of controversy as it gets a makeover that many say is long overdue. With more, here's APTN's TR Wheatley.
We're not just grabbing everything and just pulling it. I understand the significance of it.
These occupiers say police escorted them out of the Thunderbird House so abruptly that they couldn't pack up their ceremonial items. Mikiseo Miguan says it was done illegally.
And it's a violation of
we're working on all
because you cannot interrupt ceremony. It is against the law.
They had been living inside for months with medicine bundles on hand. Occupiers like Meg Salwin say they were wrongfully removed recently.
This construction's been happening for months and we've been in here.
at issue here. The Thunderbird House, which opened in 2001, was designed to be a ceremonial space for the Indigenous community. Only these occupiers claim it's sat idle for years, no programming, no tenants. They also claim its board is not legitimate and don't recognize them as such. As well, they say they haven't seen financials in years, also claiming funding from Indigenous Services Canada, or ISC, has gone missing.
You know, it's never good to be, in conflict with the community.
Colleen Rajat joined the board over a year ago and shortly after took over as board chair.
And one of the big outstanding issues was the financials, and we have all of the financials up to date now, audited financial statements, and we have provided all of the statements to the occupiers.
Rajat says ISC provided $3.2 million for renovations before she took on her role over a year ago.
And, we've had to get several bids for all of this work to be done as per our federal government contract.
She says those renos need to be completed by March 31st or ISC will pull back funding. The once copper roof was stripped during the pandemic, making the building fray inside. Rajat says roof renos came first, starting last fall, and now the contractors are ready to reno the inside. It's why Rajat and the rest of the voluntary board got police to remove the occupiers out by this month.
The kitchen is going to be replaced, the washrooms are going to be gutted, and that means the water is actually going to be shut off to the building, and then all the windows and doors are also being replaced. So the occupiers could, absolutely not be in the building when active construction is going on. There's liability, and what contractor would want to come inside a building and do work when people have set up bedrooms inside the offices? And Thunderbird House was never meant to be a residence. It's a cultural gathering space.
Our hand was really forced as a board.
Randy Way is the current treasurer and proud Métis. He joined the board hoping to give back to the community and to his friend who designed the building, Doug Cardinal.
And he's an important STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics role model. So this building, it's hugely historically significant.
While the circular design is state-of-the-art, Way says it isn't business-friendly as tenants find there isn't enough space and the location isn't ideal.
The problem is, again, it's a very challenging location. You've got huge urban homelessness. Right on the doorstep. We have to be creative in imagining the future for the building.
Way believes that future can be bright, but it can only happen if the renovation process happens and doesn't get stalled by the occupiers.
I think well-intended, but there's better places for them to put their energy while the space gets renovated. And then at such a time, we can have an open and transparent public meeting. They can certainly come to that meeting and get on the board in a legitimate fashion.
A meeting he and Rajat promise will happen just as soon as the renovations are complete. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And that's your evening newscast for this Thursday. APTN National News Daytime is back midday tomorrow. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.